You're in a crowded room. Something goes wrong. Someone needs help right now. You look around. Everyone else is looking around too. Nobody moves. You wait for someone else to step in. It feels like cowardice. It feels like a character flaw, something broken in you specifically. But the real answer is far stranger. The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any single one of them is to help. That isn't a personal failure. It's a switch in your brain, and that switch is older than the room you're standing in. Scientists call it the bystander effect. You've probably heard the name. What you probably haven't heard is why it exists and what it reveals about the machine running underneath your skull every single day. Rewind to 1964. A young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in New York City. Newspapers reported that dozens of neighbors heard her cries and did nothing. The story shocked the country. It also caught the attention of two psychologists, John Darley and Latané. They didn't buy the simplest explanation, the one everyone else had already settled on. People weren't just cruel or indifferent. Something more specific was happening in their heads, so they built an experiment to find it. In their now famous study, Darley and Latané placed participants in separate rooms, connected only by an intercom. One participant, an actor working with the researchers, staged what sounded like a seizure. Some subjects believed they were the only other person on the call. Others believed several people were listening in. Here's the twist. When subjects thought they were alone with the person in distress, almost all of them rushed to help. When they believed others were listening too, far fewer did. Some didn't help at all. Nothing about the emergency had changed. Only the number of witnesses had changed. And that single variable rewired their behavior completely. Why would more help available in a room lead to less help actually given? The answer sits deep in your evolutionary wiring, long before intercoms, long before cities, long before Kitty Genovese was born. For most of human history, you didn't survive alone. Your ancestors lived in tight bands, 30 people, maybe 50. Every decision you made rippled through a group that watched you constantly. Your reputation was your currency. Step in recklessly and get hurt, and the group loses a hunter, a gatherer, a caregiver. Step in wisely and save someone, and your status rises. Every action was weighed instantly against the presence of witnesses. Your brain learned a rule that kept you alive. Read the group before you move. This is where diffusion of responsibility comes in, and it's not a modern glitch. It's an ancient shortcut. When you're the only person present, the responsibility to act sits entirely on you. There's no ambiguity. But when others are present, your mind quietly redistributes that weight across everyone in the room. 10 witnesses means the felt responsibility isn't erased, it's simply divided. You unconsciously assume someone more qualified, more capable, or simply braver will step forward first. Everyone else assumes exactly the same thing about you. The math sounds cold when you say it out loud, but your brain isn't doing conscious math. It's running a survival calculation that used to keep hasty, unqualified helpers from getting hurt on behalf of the whole tribe. There's a second layer to this, and it's just as old. Social psychologists call it pluralistic ignorance. Before you act in an ambiguous emergency, you glance at the people around you. Their faces, not your own judgment, become your first source of information. Is this actually a crisis, or am I overreacting? If everyone else looks calm, you assume the danger must be smaller than it feels. What you don't realize is that everyone else is doing the exact same thing, watching you, borrowing your calm as evidence that nothing is truly wrong. A room full of frightened people can look, from the inside, like a room full of people who have already decided there's nothing to fear. Nobody is lying. Everybody is reading the wrong signal. For thousands of years, this feedback loop worked in your favor. Reading the group correctly meant not wasting energy on false alarms, not risking your body over a threat that wasn't real, not embarrassing yourself in a community you depended on for food, protection, and belonging. A hesitant response wasn't weakness, it was calibration. Slow enough to avoid panic, fast enough to still act when the danger was unmistakable and undeniable to everyone at once. Here's where the story gets genuinely counterintuitive. You'd expect that being surrounded by more people would make you feel safer, and in raw physical terms, it often does. But in terms of your willingness to act, the crowd works against you. Psychologist Peter Fisher led a large meta-analysis in 2011, reviewing decades of bystander research across dozens of studies and thousands of participants. The pattern held with remarkable consistency. As group size increased, individual intervention decreased, especially in ambiguous or non-dangerous looking situations. But Fisher's team found something else too. In situations that were unmistakably violent or dangerous, the bystander effect weakened significantly. When the threat is undeniable to everyone at once, the ancient calibration system finally agrees. Danger is danger. The pluralistic ignorance collapses because there's nothing ambiguous left to misread. That detail matters more than it seems. Your hesitation was never really about apathy. It was about uncertainty, dressed up as social calculation. Remove the uncertainty, and the freeze response often disappears with it. Now, bring this forward, out of the tribe and into your life today. You don't stand in circles around a campfire anymore. You stand in group chats. You scroll through comment sections where 100 people have already seen the same troubling post and said nothing. You sit in meetings where everyone privately disagrees with a decision, yet nobody speaks first. Each person reading the calm faces around the table as proof that objecting would be an overreaction. The room has changed shape completely. The wiring underneath your reaction hasn't changed at all. Even your phone plays this trick on you. You see a post asking for help, viewed by thousands, and some part of you assumes thousands of people have already responded, so your response wouldn't matter. The counter at the top of the screen becomes your modern intercom, silently dividing responsibility exactly the way Darley and Latané's fake seizure divided it decades ago. Digital crowds are still crowds. Your ancient calibration system doesn't know the difference between 100 witnesses in a village square and 100,000 witnesses scrolling past a screen. Understanding this doesn't erase the instinct. It does something more useful. It gives you a way to interrupt it. Researchers have found that simply naming the effect out loud, saying it might be happening right now, is often enough to break the spell. If you're ever the one who needs help in a crowd, single someone out directly. Point at one specific person, give them the full weight of responsibility, undivided, and the diffusion collapses instantly. And if you're ever the bystander, the fix is smaller than you'd think. Ask yourself one honest question before you look around for permission. Am I waiting because there's truly nothing to do, or am I simply waiting for someone else to move first? So picture that crowded room again. Something goes wrong, someone needs help, right now. You look around and this time you notice what's actually happening in the silence. It isn't cruelty in the air. It's 40,000 years of careful tribal calibration running quietly underneath a situation it was never built to fully understand. The real answer was never that people don't care. The real answer is that everyone is waiting for someone else to be the one who does.